Hi everyone, thanks for viewing this presentation. My name's Ciaran Evans, and today I'm going to be talking to you about doing discipline-specific activities in introductory statistics. This work is done in collaboration with Philipp Burckhardt, Rebecca Nugent, and Gordon Weinberg, and we're part of the Teaching Statistics Research Group here at Carnegie Mellon University. Now, the motivation for our work has been trying to integrate different area-specific content into statistics instruction. Now, statistics is a common requirement for a variety of different degree programs, but different departments often want different discipline-specific content for their students. So, for example, biology might want chi-square tests to be taught with the example of genotype distributions. And the solution at Carnegie Mellon has historically been to teach separate intro-level courses for several different disciplines here. So, for example, we've got life sciences and engineers and the business school. But the statistical content in each of these courses is usually pretty similar, and the main difference between them is the area of application. And so instead, what we would like to do is have a single introductory course where lectures are the same for everyone and students get to see a variety of different examples, but then students take different lab sections that depend on their degree program. So this semester, we've piloted an attempt at integrating discipline-specific content with a special lab section for students in the life sciences. So they receive the same lectures, but then they get different data for some of the labs, and they do different class projects. So we wanted to make the data as relevant as possible to our biology students, and so we took real data sets from recent biology papers in journals like Nature and the Proceedings of the Royal Society, and used these for our labs and our projects. And also, just a side note here, if you're looking for data for class projects or for your students or for homework assignments, this turns out to be a really nice way of getting it. So if you find a journal like these ones here that often require their data to be made publicly available when the paper is published, then search the article database for words like regression or classification or random forest, something like that. You often turn up articles that have nice variety of data sets and that do cool analyses with them as well. Now, to adapt labs to be biology oriented, we started out with existing labs, and then we identified the lab topics and the tools and concepts that the students used in the lab. And then we found data that supported similar analyses. So, as I mentioned before, this can often be done by finding a paper which does something similar, and then using the data from that paper and having the students do something along the same lines. And we found that adapting the lab material also helped improve the original labs, which are the ones that the non-biology students were doing. So we had most of the labs that be the standard labs that we'd been doing for the last few semesters, and then a special lab section just for the biology students that had these revised labs. So for example, one of the labs that we revised was on the binomial distribution, and we made some changes at the request of the biology department, and then we decided we liked those changes so much that we just applied them to the standard lab as well, so that the students in the other lab sections got the same instruction there. In terms of lessons that we've learned, one thing that is important to note is that sometimes our students had different backgrounds and were at different stages in the program, and we didn't think as much as we should about that when we were planning out some of these labs. So sometimes we ended up making the biology a little bit too complicated because students just hadn't seen all of that background material, which meant that they had an additional cognitive burden that made it more difficult for them to learn the statistics part of the lab. And for the same reason, you also want to make sure that a discipline-specific lab is really only for students in that discipline. You don't have students from other departments taking that who don't have the same background classwork. And finally, the hardest part, I think, in adapting the material was finding good data. So if you're planning on doing something like this, I would say do that first when you're preparing the course. So thanks everyone for listening. If you're interested, you can read more about our projects at our website there. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach me via my email address.